From Manila to the globe, this is World Newsfeed, bringing you the biggest stories shaping our times. Good morning, I'm Raine Musñgi. Let's dive into the headlines, making a global impact. We break away from regular programming to bring you the latest on severe tropical storm Christine. 5 people are dead as severe tropical storm Christine tears through the Philippines, bringing heavy rains, powerful winds, and floods. Ahead of the landfall of the storm with international name Trami over Divilica and Isabela around midnight earlier, government officials reported that hundreds of thousands have been evacuated, with more than 100,000 also seeking shelter in evacuation center. The storm has caused extensive damage, particularly in Luzon, the country's largest island, where homes and infrastructure have been swept away. Christine's winds have reached speeds of up to 95 kilometers per hour, while torrential rains have hit 130 kilometers per hour and submerged vast areas underwater. The economic impact is widespread. Schools and businesses across affected regions, including Metro Manila, have closed. Foreign exchange markets were temporarily shut down, and the Philippine Stock Exchange did halt trading for a moment. Authorities struggle to cope with the scale of the damage. With the storm still unleashing rainfall across the region, officials expect the death toll could rise. The floods are expected to worsen as the rains continue, and BNC urges everyone to evacuate when told to do so. Low-lying areas remain on high alert as more flooding is expected in the coming hours. Stay tuned to BNC for the latest updates as we continue to monitor the impact of Christine all throughout the day. While floods continue to rise in some barangays in Casiguran, Aurora, our correspondent Francis Falve was in Barangay Calantas with this report.
Dito sa Barangay Calantas, mula sa Baywang hanggang sa dibdib na ang baha dito. Bukod kasi sa ulan, sumabay pa ang high tide, kaya naman inaasahan na lalong tataas pa ang tubig baha dito. Kanina ay sinagip na ng Red Cross ang ilang residente sa Sitio 5, lalo na yung mga matatanda at mga bata. Pero merong mga residente na ayaw iwan ang kanilang mga bahay at nakaantabay doon para sa kanilang mga alagang hayop. Ayon sa MDRRMO, bukod dito sa Barangay Calantas, binaha na rin ang mga Barangay Esperanza, Luwal, Kulat, Tabas at Poblacion. Pinangangambahan naman ang storm surge o daluyong sa mga coastal barangay katulad sa Estebes. Meron ng ilang pamilya ang lumikas at nagpalipas ng gabi sa evacuation centers. Handa naman ang local DRRMO sa mga supply tulad ng pagkain at gamot. Mula kagabi ay wala pa rin namang supply ng kuryente dito sa Casiguran at ilan pang mga bayan sa buong lalawigan yan ng Aurora. Nakataas pa rin ang storm signal number 3 dito sa northern parts ng Aurora.
Well, signal number 3 remains hoisted over Pangasinan. Our Hannah T filed this report from Alaminos.
As we got closer to the coastal areas here in Pangasinan, winds and rains in some areas intensified. We are under a gale warning, which basically means the winds are hitting 52 to 92 kilometers per hour, making it really dangerous for small boats. A storm surge warning is also in effect for places like Agno, Alaminos, Bolinao, and Dagupan, where 1 to 2 meter high waves are expected to hit the coast. That's why people near the shore are being advised by the local disaster risk reduction and management office to move to safer ground. Preemptive evacuations have already been carried out in some areas like Bolinao, Anda, and Alaminos. In Bolinao, 108 families from 5 barangays have been evacuated, while more than 55 families in Alaminos and more than 3 families in Anda are already evacuated. And it's not just the rain and the wind. The San Roque Dam is being closely monitored by the PDRRMO, with its water level at 275.52 meters as of 5 a.m. and 1 gate open to manage the flow. The PDRRMO continues to issue advisories and warnings about potential storm surges, floods, flash floods, and landslides as Pangasinan faces many exposed hazards.
Well, a day of tragedy and heroism unfolds in Libon, Albay as the Philippine Coast Guard continues rescue operations amid the devastation brought by Typhoon Christine, or rather severe tropical storm Christine. The Coast Guard has recovered one body from a home in Zone 5. Investigations are underway to determine the cause of death. Local authorities are providing assistance to the family of the deceased. Meanwhile, in Zone 4, rescuers evacuated a senior citizen in a wheelchair from waist-deep flood waters. The elderly resident was safely boarded on a rescue boat alongside her family. The Coast Guard teams worked diligently to assist those in distress. And the Philippine Coast Guard is continuing its operations, focusing on ensuring the safety of residents impacted by Typhoon Christine and providing needed assistance. On Sibuyan Island, nearly 300 people were evacuated due to flooding and storm surge threats, including crew and passengers of a stranded vessel. Local governments are providing assistance to the affected. In San Andres, a house was crushed by a large tree after strong winds uprooted it. No injuries were reported. And Abante Radyo's Paul Jason Foss reports several boats in Ferrol Romblon were damaged due to intense waves brought on by Typhoon Christine. Residents struggled to pull their boats ashore due to blocked access routes caused by a newly constructed seawall. Resident Nestor Prado said this has put their livelihoods at risk during bad weather. Fishermen are now working with the Department of Agriculture to report their losses. A cargo vessel has run aground in Romblon, but authorities confirm there is no oil spill. The Philippine Coast Guard tells DWAR that LCT-ASC Big Boy ran aground in San Agustin town in Romblon Wednesday after the vessel's anchor chain broke due to Typhoon Christine. This caused it to drift 50 meters from the shore of Barangay Sugod. All 17 crew members are safe and uninjured. The vessel is carrying 154 containers, 7 rolling cargoes, and a preloader truck, with all machinery fully operational. Authorities say the situation is under control and there is no threat to the environment or local communities. The Coast Guard, along with the Environmental Protection Unit in Romblon, is closely monitoring the situation to ensure crew safety and implement precautionary measures to mitigate any possible environmental impact. Meanwhile, tensions rise between the United States and United Kingdom as Donald Trump's presidential campaign accuses the Labor Party of meddling in the U.S. election. World Newsfeed will be back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. We begin in Turkey. 2 attackers killed 5 people and wounded 22 others on Wednesday in what Ankara called a terrorist attack at a Turkish aerospace industries headquarters. TV broadcasters showed footage of armed assailants entering the TUSAS building near Ankara. Witnesses said they heard gunfire and an explosion. Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya said authorities believe the Kurdistan Workers' Party militant group was responsible for the attack. Both attackers were killed after the attack, adding 2 of the injured are in critical condition. Yerlikaya also said the perpetrators were likely members of the outlawed KKP. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, alongside Russia's Vladimir Putin at the BRICS conference in the Russian city of Kazan, condemned the attack, and Erdogan accepted Putin's condolences. NATO, the United States, and European Union also condemned the attack. Witnesses told Reuters that employees inside the building had been taken to shelters by the authorities, and no one had been permitted to leave for a few hours. TUSAS is Turkey's largest aerospace manufacturer, currently producing a training craft, combat and civilian helicopters, as well as developing the country's first indigenous fighter jet, Kaan. It's owned by the Turkish Armed Forces Foundation and government. It employs more than 10,000 people. Tensions escalate across the Atlantic as the Donald Trump presidential campaign accuses the UK Labour Party of meddling in the U.S. election. The Trump team has filed a formal complaint with the U.S. Federal Election Commission alleging foreign interference by labor activists. This follows reports that labor members have been actively volunteering for the Harris-Walz presidential campaign in the United States. American law prohibits foreign nationals from being compensated for campaign work, but the Trump campaign claims labor's efforts might violate these rules. The complaint cites a LinkedIn post from Labor's head of operations, Sophia Patel. In the post, Patel says nearly 100 labor staff members will soon head to the U.S. with promises to sort housing for volunteers and 10 spots still available for others to join. The British Prime Minister says the UK's Labour Party maintains the volunteers are participating on their own time without financial support from the party. The Harris-Walz campaign has declined to comment on the allegations. The Trump campaign is now urging the Federal Election Commission to investigate Labor's involvement and any potential financial aid to volunteers. While the UK is sounding alarms over Russia's recent airstrikes in the Black Sea, warning that disruptions to Ukrainian grain exports could trigger widespread delays in global food supplies. Millions, including Palestinians and vulnerable populations across Africa and Asia, rely on these shipments. The disruption could intensify the humanitarian crises unfolding in conflict zones. The UK has urged international pressure on Russia to ensure safe passage for food supplies. Israel has officially confirmed the death of Hashem Safieddin, Hezbollah's heir apparent and relative of group leader Hassan Nasrallah. Safieddin was killed 3 weeks ago in an Israeli airstrike in Beirut's southern suburbs, marking a significant blow to the Iran-backed militant group. Safieddin held key roles in Hezbollah's military and executive councils. This confirmation comes amid U.S. pressure on Israel to capitalize on recent killings of militant leaders. That includes Yahya Sinwar of Hamas to secure hostages from Gaza. Meanwhile, a mysterious illness has claimed the lives of 11 monkeys at Hong Kong's zoological gardens, sparking concern among officials as investigations into the cause are underway. World Newsfeed will be back with details in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Authorities in Hong Kong confirm that melioidosis, a soil-borne bacterial infection, has killed 11 monkeys at the city's zoological gardens. The mammal section of the zoo has been shut down since October 14th, following the first reported deaths. Health officials are monitoring both the main remaining animals and staff with no signs of further infection.
The mammal section of the garden has been closed since October 14th. Thorough disinfection and cleansing have been carried out in the animal cages involved. Appropriate protective gear have been provided to staff who work there, and staff health condition is being closely monitored. At present, their health is normal. Staff concerned are all tested negative for the bacteria. We will continue monitoring the mammals in the gardens.
The zoo will remain partially closed as disinfection efforts continue. In a gesture of diplomacy, Samoa will offer Britain's King Charles the title of High Chief during his upcoming visit. The symbolic role reflects historical ties between Samoa and the UK and acknowledges the King's advocacy on climate issues affecting the Pacific Islands. The honor underscores Pacific nations' call for more action from global powers to combat climate change. The youngest son of Singapore's founder, Lee Kuan Yew, has sought asylum in the United Kingdom, citing political persecution. The brother of Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong has been embroiled in public disputes over family legacy and government transparency. Lee's asylum bid signals growing political friction within Singapore's elite and raises concerns about civil liberties in the city-state. On to sports now. The Los Angeles Lakers starting things the right way as a new NBA season tips off. The Lake Show beat the Minnesota Timberwolves on opening night 113-110. Anthony Davis led the purple and gold with 36 points and 16 rebounds to help J.J. Redick win his debut as Lakers head coach. LeBron and Bronny James also made history as the first father and son tandem to play together in the NBA. King James finished with 16 markers, while Bronny was scoreless and grabbed a rebound in 3 minutes of play. Over in Beantown, defending champs, the Boston Celtics kicked off their quest for a two-peat by defeating the New York Knicks 132-109. Jason Tatum led the C's with 37 points and 10 assists, while Finals MVP Jaylen Brown and Derek White combined for 47 markers. And that is all for now. Thank you so much for joining us. Catch up with us again tomorrow at 10 when we bring you the world in 30 minutes, only on World Newsfeed. Follow the Money comes next. Keep it here on the Billionaire News Channel, always on top.